So this week we have moved from Salt Lake City to a suburb of Denver, Colorado. And instead of staying in an Airbnb this time, we're staying in a hotel, which is actually kind of a nice change, but it's one room, it's kind of cramped. Jessica's working all day, so the last thing I want to do is sit here and just make her listen to me record over and over and over again. So I'm leaving to find a better place to record. Don't worry, I'm hands-free. So one of the things that we do anytime we get to a new place is we take Carson to doggy daycare, just for an interview, just in case we need to go someplace where we can't take him, because he's so spoiled. He's not used to being left alone for very long, and we'd rather him have fun playing with other dogs. I mean, we're on vacation, right? So he should be on vacation too. And on the way back to the hotel from doggy daycare, I saw this really interesting park that's got this cool big barn that's kind of like the picnic area. And so I thought that might be a really good place to record. So I'm gonna retrace my steps today. I'm gonna go back to doggy daycare first and see if I can't find this park. Now, I don't claim to be an expert at vlogging by any means. You've probably seen by now that my style is pretty much talking head, which is essentially where I have a set, I sit down, I stay in the same place the whole time, and I tell you about something. But vlog stands for video log. So it's a little bit different. You kind of have to think of it more like a reality TV show. You're taking people around with you and showing them what you're doing. And that could be just a day in your life, or that could be like what I'm doing today, trying to find something cool. Maybe it's an awesome hike that you've been on, but it's a lot more kind of fast and loose. And although there's definitely an advantage to kind of planning some things out ahead of time, a lot of it is out of your control. Okay, so I'm pulling into Carson's doggy daycare. I'm just gonna park for a second while I get my bearings. Parking a giant van is fun. Okay, I know where I'm going from here. Or I think. I'm just gonna go around the back and head back out in the direction that I think the park is. So the first thing let's talk about is story. It is very tempting when you're shooting a vlog to just shoot a bunch of whatever is going on in your day, doesn't really matter what it is, and then try to smash it all together later in the edit to make a cohesive story. Yeah, that can work, but that's kind of how I've tried to do it in the past, and it really kind of sometimes makes things seem a little bit random, and you're gonna have to spend a whole lot more time editing later, and that's not very fun. So it's really good, no matter what kind of video you're doing, to keep your story in mind as you're creating your video. So with a vlog, you're gonna be thinking of kind of like pinpoints in a timeline. Obviously, you can't control what happens when you're out in the real world, but you can have a general idea of what you're doing. For instance, I planned today that I was going to go out and I was going to come check out this park. I knew that in order to do that, I was gonna have to go to the doggy daycare and get my bearings, and I kind of planned out some checkpoints of what I want to talk about, and in general where those might fit into my script. With talking head though, I can almost script out word for word what I'm going to say if I want to. So you have a whole lot more control when it comes to talking head, but sometimes it makes it a little bit harder to inject your personality and let people kind of into your life. And if you're doing something like a travel channel, for instance, getting good at vlogging is going to be very important, because it's going to be really hard to do a travel channel all talking head. On the other hand, if you're teaching something, it's going to be a whole lot easier to do a cooking class in a set environment where you have all of your lighting set up, you have all of your cameras set up, and it's the same thing every single time, than it is to try to go from place to place, different kitchen to different kitchen, or maybe try to find barbecue grills at parks. Well, there's someone in the actual barn, so I'm just gonna walk around and talk with you. With a vlog, your location is going to change depending on where you're at. So, as I mentioned before, you're going to have less control over your environment. Like right now, it's really bright outside. I was planning on being in the barn where there was lots of shade, and now I have to deal with the sun. I've got kids in the background that are screaming. That's another thing to think about when you're talking about locations. But with Talking Head, you can go into a quiet room, you have control over the light, so hopefully you're not going to be blown out because the lighting is too bright. I mean, right now I can't even hardly see my screen to even know what I look like. So those are some differences to keep in mind. I'm not going to bring lights with me on a vlog. I might bring a small pocket light in case I'm in a place that's a little bit dark, but it's run and gun. Weight really matters. You don't want to be lugging an entire studio's worth of equipment along with you. Which brings me to my next topic, which is equipment. When you are vlogging, being lightweight and nimble is definitely a plus. Oh, there's rabbit poop. Cool. Not only do you want to keep your backpack light if you're bringing stuff with you, especially if you're going a long distance, you also need to think about the fact that most of the time you're going to be holding that camera in your hands, and you don't want to just completely tire your arm out to the point that you can't hold the camera anymore. iPhones are a great option for vlogging all around because they're lightweight, you can see yourself if you need to. The microphone on board is actually pretty awesome, and it's very easy to film with. The other option that I think is great, especially for beginners, is this little Sony Zv1. This camera is incredibly lightweight. In fact, it'll fit in your pocket, and it has a really great onboard microphone, and it's got this little fuzzy wig on top, and that's just gonna cut the wind noise too. If it gets really windy, it's gonna block it from hitting that microphone and ruining the sound of your video. The other thing that you want to think about is how to carry your camera. It's difficult to pick up your camera and carry it around by the lens. I don't really like doing it. It feels unsafe to me. So I've got my camera on a Joby Gorillapod flexible tripod, and depending on what you're shooting on, you could use any type of small tabletop tripod that's easy to take with you. And this is just gonna allow you to set the camera down places. If you're wanting to show multiple angles of maybe you walking through the field, you can set your camera down and show that without having to prop it up on a rock or something and worry about it falling and breaking. And also having something to carry all of this stuff in if you're bringing a lot of equipment is pretty important too. So finding a good backpack is always a good idea. Now the great thing about Talking Head is that you can have a permanent setup if you want to. You can bring in all of those heavy lights that aren't portable. You can have full-size tripods. You can have boom stands, light stands, pretty much anything that the room that you're filming in will accommodate. So you don't have to worry about portability. You don't have to worry about weight. So to wrap things up, I thought I'd just talk about the fact that you don't have to stick with one or the other. Just because you're doing something vlog style doesn't mean that your whole video has to be vlog style. You can do a little bit of vlogging at the beginning and then finish things off with Talking Head at the end. It's perfectly fine to combine the two. For instance, let's say you're doing a DIY video. Maybe you take people with you vlog style to the hardware store while you pick up all of the materials, and then once you get back home and you get back into your studio, you switch back into Talking Head. There's no right or wrong here, and you don't have to pick sides. So, what questions do you have about vlogging? And would you like to see me start vlogging more often? Because Lord knows I need to improve, and this would be an excellent opportunity. Let me know down in the comments. Next week I'll be in New Mexico. So, new location, new challenges, but also a bunch of cool stuff to show you as well. So, have a great week, and I will see you in the next one.